Alright, let's do this one last time. This is Peter Parker. You know him as Spider-Man. In this game, he's done a lot for New York City. Saved it from a few choice villains, gotten together and broken up with Mary Jane, and just generally had an active 8 years as the web-slinging wall crawler. So, just like Insomniac Studios chose to do with the beginning of this game, let's jump right into it. The part opening, part tutorial of Marvel's Spider-Man is explosive. Literally. The game wastes no time throwing you straight into the action, and after a short combat tutorial teaching you how to non-lethally introduce criminals to the bottom of your feet, the introduction ends with you taking out one of Spider-Man's most iconic villains, Wilson Fisk, whipping him to jail as he forebodingly taunts Spider-Man. What a game, huh? Captain, that was the tutorial. That seems to be the status quo for this iteration of Spider-Man. Non-stop action and rapid plot progression. The game zips from one story beat to another, with phone calls layered in between to keep things swinging along. Speaking of, we gotta talk about that. This game's movement slaps harder than one of those sticky hand toys, and thwipping through New York City with webs, point launches, and wall running is just plain fun. Peter's theme swells as you pick up speed, and those horns in the background just bless your ears. Seriously, if the game didn't interrupt you with calls relating to the main story, I'd just completely forget that it was even there. That's the reason my Peter was late to everything. He was too busy doing a triple backflip off the Avengers Tower after finding one of his old backpacks up there. And who? See, that backpack actually held some of Sandman inside of it, and you might think, oh neat, that's a cool Easter egg. But that's the thing, all of the backpacks are cool Easter eggs. Peter has a few lines of dialogue for each item, and they all reference various parts of his past. There's even a reference to this stupid pizza delivery minigame from Spider-Man 2, or how his current eye lens is based off a piece of Mysterio's mask he chipped off. The collectibles in this game and its sequel are just fun to grab, purely because the movement is so fluid that traveling the map doesn't feel like a hassle. I and many others are kind of tired of seeing Peter Parker origin stories, so it's really refreshing to just throw us into a game with an already established, more adult Peter who's been doing this for a while, with this huge web of characters preemptively established. And for those who do want to see a Spider-Man origin story, who's to say you can't have your cake and eat it too? Miles Morales, shown from the offset as a fanboy of sorts for Spider-Man, is someone we'll discuss in a bit. Let's swing back around to the main focus of the first game, Peter Parker. After that minor disagreement with Mr. Fisk, Peter's suit is looking a little exposed, so he decides to take it over to his workplace to repair it. He works for none other than Dr. Otto Octavius, which means anyone who knows Spider-Man even slightly can tell the direction that this plot thread is going. Interestingly, Octavius discovers Peter attempting to fix the suit, but comes up with an obvious lie for Peter, being that Peter must make the suits and tech for Spider-Man. But come on, I feel like even Peter knew that Otto was smarter than that and had pretty much figured out he was Spider-Man. Peter falls asleep, one of the few times in the game that he actually does. He really takes that Insomniac Spider-Man title seriously, and when he wakes up, he sees that Dr. Octavius has thrown some mad scientist ideas of his own into the design of Spider-Man's suit, leading to the iconic reveal of Insomniac's take on the classic Spider-Man costume. And I'll be honest, I really, really like it. The stark contrast of the white spider on the blue and red of the suit itself makes the entire design just pop, and it really catches the eye. It's sleek and clean while still paying homage to the original outfit. While we're talking design, a lot of people don't like the face change for Peter from the PS4 version of the game, and while it was a bit jarring for me at first, I got over it and actually really warmed up to the face after a few hours. It fits him a lot better than most people give it credit for. We find out that Peter works at a homeless shelter with Aunt May, which is funny, because he is also homeless. In all seriousness, that's Peter Parker's character down to a T. The man is struggling to make ends meet, has the entire responsibility of being Spider-Man, and still volunteers to help people in need as a regular citizen. Which makes it all the more interesting that Martin Lee, Mr. Negative, as J. Jonah Jameson names him, also works at the same homeless shelter. It's an interesting parallel that helps flesh out the two's dynamic a bit later, but I still felt as if Lee fell a bit short to the other friend-turned-foe, Otto Octavius. Doc Ock's friendship with Peter feels genuine. They're just two dorks doing what they can to help those in need. Otto wants to push things further than just limb replacement. He thinks 6 kick-ass extendo arms would be better than just having your arm or leg replaced, and honestly, he's not wrong. If I had the choice, I'm picking the Yamete Kudasai arms every time. His reason for becoming a lemon being that his body is failing him and he needs to rely on the very technology him and Peter created, it's cool. I like it. What I don't like is the fact that he decides to poison an entire city just to get back at the man who wronged him. Like, dude, you're smart. You couldn't have come up with a better way to expose Osborn? The final boss fight between him and Peter is heartbreaking, and Otto screaming for him as he walks off after beating his ass is just sad in a pitiful sort of way. While on the topic of sad and the end of the game, Peter having to choose between saving tons of lives or Aunt May's life with the cure for the poison that Otto airdropped into everyone's lungs, and ultimately deciding to be selfless and let Aunt May go, that's what being Spider-Man is all about. None of that one more day shit. He has MJ to help him through his grief here, and that's all he really needs. Speaking of, MJ's sections of gameplay are okay. They're not this terrible curse on the game like people would have you believe, and the nicest way I can put it is that they're a refreshing change of pace, but they do stop you from the most exciting part of this game, the combat. The combat in this game just straight up slaps. It's a free-form system with a heavy emphasis on racking up combos, using different gadgets, and timing your dodges to build up to powerful finishers. Leveling up lets you choose from a skill tree to further grow in the direction of your playstyle, whether that's beating down, being sneaky, or bouncing by. Your core moveset never particularly changes, and the additions the game gives you just prove to flesh out the already established combat. You can do some insanely stylish stuff, not pictured here because I'm not good at the game. While flipping and zipping through the city, you're going to be interrupted by the world's biggest hater, J. Jonah Jameson, and his podcast, Just the Facts, which is ironic because most of it is full of his opinions about Spider-Man. I'm not sure why Spider-Man even tunes in, to be honest. Maybe just to keep his pride in check. I guess having haters means you have lovers, so maybe he's onto something. When I read mean comments from now on, I'm picturing myself as Spider-Man. Take that. Miles Morales is present for pretty much the entire game, having his dad, Jefferson Davis, die pretty early on. Even though he doesn't have any powers, he still pulls off some insane heroics. He literally helps save Aunt May from a burning building as just a normal dude. He proves he's worthy to obtain Spidey powers, which makes it all the more satisfying when he gets chomped towards the end of the game. After begging Peter to train him throughout all of the DLC, the last shot of the last DLC is also the opening to Miles Morales, where we finally get to see Miles in action. Peter here is being the best mentor he can be, while Miles is doing some stupid shit like webbing directly into a spinning helicopter blade. Like, seriously, why did he do that? The Spider duo is trying to take down Rhino in this opening, and Rhino puts the work on Peter here, literally knocks him out of commission. The first time I saw this, I thought they were going to kill Peter off right there, and let Miles figure the whole Spider-Man thing out on his own. But no, thankfully Peter gets up, and the reason he's gone for the whole game is just because he's on a trip with MJ. I much prefer that, since I really do like the dynamic they have going on. It also allows Miles to learn in the best way that he can, just getting out there and doing it, with no Peter to back him up. He's got the man in the chair Genki, his mother is a politician, and his best friend is actually a vigilante directly opposed to him, so there's plenty of spider problems for our new Spider-Man. The combat this time around is pretty much the same thing from the last game, but with less gadgets and more of a focus on Miles' new Venom powers, which he gets after whooping Rhino's ass in the opening. Venom replaces the focus meter from the old combat system, but the new abilities it can mix and match with can make for some pretty cool shit, so it's welcome in my book. While most of Miles' progression is still tied to leveling, things like traversal are instead tied to these small challenges dotted around the map left by Peter, which is nice because it means you can get something like point launch without having to go to the end of an entire skill tree. Even though I didn't discuss any of the optional suits from the first game, there's one in particular here that really surprised me when I first unlocked it, the Spider-Verse suit. The suit mod that comes with unlocking this set of spandex lowers the frame rate of Miles to match the aesthetic of the Spider-Verse movies. That's just cool. Even if it was a small thing, they really went the extra mile for this one. Or should I say the extra miles? Oh! Now, I'd like to address a common complaint I see thrown at this game like an amateur pitch. It should have just been a DLC, and why I respectfully disagree with that. A big part of Miles Morales' character has always been him trying to get out of the shadow of Peter Parker's Spider-Man, whether Peter is alive or dead. Mostly dead. It's important for Miles to get a game to himself, not just because it allows for a story solely focused on him integrating into the role of Spider-Man, but for real-life public perception to see him as being worthy enough to receive his own game, instead of just some DLC character. With all that being said, I don't like Finn, the Tinkerer, the main antagonist. She has the exact same plan as Octavius, which is to literally commit terrorism to get back at someone who wronged them. Now, Otto, he had the whole mad scientist thing going on, and the Doc Ock tentacles mess with his mind, so you kinda see why he goes with that, but Finn, she's supposed to be smart, and her best plan is also really just to blow stuff up. Her death to save Miles also feels pretty ham-fisted in there. A lot of her plotlines just leave me with a bit of a sour taste. A character I feel was done extremely well was Aaron Davis as the Prowler. His coming out of retirement in order to help Miles, but becoming a bit too overbearing in a desperate attempt to keep him out of danger, especially after what happened with Miles' dad, it's just some damn good characterization, and a clever way to incorporate him into the story. The game is overall still a blast to play. While I wish the main story had been a bit longer, I don't really have anything else to say without seriously feeling like I'm just rambling into a microphone about video games. So I'll just say, I'm so excited for Spider-Man 2. Real quick, I just wanted to thank you all for 400 subs. It feels like just yesterday I had 10 subs and a huge fear to even start making content. So, thanks, all of you, for checking my stuff out. I'll see you around. Bye!